Hello. I've just been thinking about the debate last night with Neil and Madalena, and I've been thinking about a lot of things I wish I could have said. I had to let Neil talk, and he brought up his points. He's very heartfelt about what he feels, and that's his truth. Now, here's some of the things that I would have liked to expand it on and said. Number one, it's not intelligent to get emotional in debates and just call people names. Like just calling people morons, stupid, idiots, unintelligent. Like, we wouldn't be there talking about these things if any of us were stupid. I really don't see any human as stupid. Um, really, when it comes down to it, when you understand infinite intelligence, when you understand sometimes the simplest people, that are, even with mental disabilities, can teach you the deepest, most intelligent lessons. And, some of the most complex things come in a simple truth. Now, another thing is about all the people that have died, and I've posted about this a lot. Now, let me just try off the top of my head to name all the people that came out and talked about a particular subject having to do with pizza that all mysteriously were supposedly ended their own lives. There's a lot longer list than I can name off the top of my head, but we've got David McGowan, Tracy Twyman, Isaac Cappy, Russ Dizdar and his wife. We've got Rob Skiva. We have a bunch of people. Who else? I have a list somewhere in my house where I had one time made a list of all these people. And, even David Wilcox, like, that's sketchy. Hunter S. Thompson. Like, I do not believe that Hunter S. Thompson did that to himself. And he was talking about Chrome. Okay? And he was in some circles, man. He was in some deep circles. Who else was I just thinking about? Oh, we got Anthony Bourdain, Chester Bennington. What's his name from Soundgarden? Why can't I remember it right now? A lot. There's a lot. We've got that girl that came out and was like they're eating people, and she disappeared. We got the CEO of Google who was like, "Hey, we're in a matrix," and that mysteriously was found in her car a couple hours later. We have an endless list of people. We have people that have gone missing. I mean, the list is endless. And what all these people have in common is they got close to one subject, one thing, one subject that they all just were not allowed to talk about. But it's hinted at everywhere you look. It's in movies, books. There's been countless books written about it. We're dealing with something ancient, primordial. We're dealing with something here that is unseen. People call it demonic. We've got teachers like Abraham Hicks saying there is no source of evil, but I mean, we're seeing this. We're seeing this entity thing going on. We're seeing these groups doing these weird things, and they don't do them for no reason. They don't do this for fun. I posted a video earlier of a friend who knows a lot about this. His channel is The Void is Yang. The Void is Yang. I think that's the name of it. He's really cool. He knows a lot about this. He knows about Twyman. There's a lot I wanted to say, in that lecture last night. And it's like, this isn't about, like, trashing each other and seeing... None of us are perfect, dude. This is about what's important, and what's important is, like, we're seeing the contrast. We're standing up and saying, hey, we don't want to see little kids going into Hollywood and getting turned out in front of our eyes. We don't want that. Oh yeah, Brittany Murphy, Heath Ledger, all these people just boom, bada bing, disappeared, right? we're seeing a contrast, and what's important is we're saying, hey, we see what's going on here. There's all this evidence of human beings being trafficked and abused throughout all time and all cultures. We can trace, human sacrifice, child sacrifice. It's all tied in with the religions. Like, it's not about like who's right or wrong, because truth really is subjective, man. It can be very subjective. There are levels to understanding and growing upon knowledge, but what's important is like, we don't need to be attacking each other's characters. We need to be looking at the people who are involved in this stuff. We need to look at the people in these high places who are like they are blackmailed. They are being abused. Like, what's going on is so deep, and it affects every single one of us, and it's real. And there are countless sources and testimonies. I mean, look what happened to Russ Dizdar and his wife. If you really read between the lines, Russ was a great man, a wonderful, wonderful soul, a loving Christian who really cared about people. And what was he saying? He was interviewing SRA victims across the world, and he was harassed and threatened. Like, you can't talk to these people. Like, some of the stories that he told were very, and I saw somebody comment the other day, they're like, how could you hail Satan when there's all these SRA victims? Well, there's a lot of religious people that do the same thing in the name of Jesus, and I have a whole list of those too. Look at Lori Vallow, Ruby Frankie. I mean, we have, it's all one thing. A lot of it is psychological. Most of the warfare is psychological. And, there's a lot that I wanted to say, and, there's a lot I want to do. I want to make audiobooks. I want to make presentations and talk about this stuff. And, I mean, it's a serious matter, but we need to focus on what's important, and quit getting off track. Like, we're all doing this because we are tired of hearing the stories. And, look at the whole thing with Johnny Gosch. Look what David McGowan, he connected all those fucking serial killers, dude. Connected all of them effortlessly. We don't want to see this happening anymore. We don't want to not be able to let our kids play in the neighborhood because we're all aware of how they just could disappear. And so, like, I don't know, watching people just call each other names, and I think that's unintelligent. People trying to control each other, and like, what's important, and we don't know shit. What do you really know about this earth? Is it a farm? Are we on a farm? We come here for a really short time and we just go. And none of us know. And we know a little tiny bit about history and ancient things. We don't even know if time is linear. We don't know. So there's a lot that I wanted to add, and I'll have to get my notes together. I have a lot of notes and lists, and I've been looking at the whole Pizzagate thing for a really long time, and I have to take breaks from it because it's really, really dark, and I don't want to focus on really dark stuff all the time. But I mean, it's serious. Like Jonathan Trudeau said, I think that's his name. He's like, you're in a place where souls get eaten. Like, if you're caught unaware, like, you gotta be careful. Like, you might be being preyed on if you're not careful. You could be being preyed on by your own mind. And so, you gotta be careful about throwing accusations out, too. Because you throw a false accusation out on a good person and it's not true, and it's gonna slap you back in the face, man. I've seen it happen, and I don't know, everybody needs to be aware of how much they don't know. And like, what is really important here? And think of all the people that have been damaged. You know, we see this whole thing with Epstein, that was going on long before in many places. We got North Fox Island. There's probably thousands of places like that right now. Thousands. We're dealing with like something much bigger than mafia. You know, we're dealing with something very secret. Yeah, it's hard to find sources because it's a secret. It's a big secret. What's going on and why they do it. So, just some of my thoughts. You know, I'm hoping I can get working on making these audiobooks, and I'd love to continue on Tracy Twyman's work. I think about her all the time. I think she was very smart, very awesome, just a beautiful person, and she knew what she was risking, and she did it, you know, because she cared. She cared about humanity, she cared about children, she cared about the truth, and she knew, you know, what was going to happen. All these people did. They knew how dangerous what they were doing was. We just have to know that we don't really know, you know? And if anybody's ever popped out of their body, you know that instantly. Like, you don't know where you are. You don't know what this place really is. You know, we think it's round or flat. It's holographic, dude. The spoon can bend. Rather easily, your whole reality can bend. You're seeing vibration. You think it's solid, and it's not. And you think that people are unconnected. We're all really, really connected. We're connected in a web of psychic entanglement, and we can't escape it. So, you know, we do this out of love and nobility, and you know, try to keep it a little classy, you know, have some class about it. Take this stuff seriously. This is serious. Like, this is really serious. Like, where are all these kids that are going missing? What happened in Lahaina? You know, I want to know what was up with Lahaina. You know, we want to talk about colonization and colonialism. It's happening right now. It's never stopped happening. You know, what is really important is, are we supposed to be fighting with each other? Isn't that like the first thing you learn when you become a truther? Is like the Hegelian dialectic and how they get us to fight with each other and not being able to see past the material plane of the bigger picture, and like connecting to your own soul and understanding, you know, infinite intelligence, that anytime that you ask a question, the answer is being brought to all of us. There's no one person that has some muse. That's not how it works. We are connected to the infinite source that we are. Anything you focus on or ask about, the answer will be brought to you in many ways. You know, it's like in the Bible, it says, ye have an unction from the Holy One, and you have access to all wisdom and information. And you do, you know, and this stuff is so deep, and one thing can be true and not true at the same time. That's how trippy all this is. Several things can be true at the same time that seem contradictory, because everything is a paradox. Everything is paradoxical here. We are in contrast. We are in the chess game of good and evil, so we can decipher it. So we can see hot versus cold, dark versus light. It's all manifested. We're in a vibratory, holographic kind of reality. So anyway, I'll get to making my notes and thinking about these things, and just, you know, being open-minded, weighing the scales, you know, focusing on what's really important. Like, what are we trying to do here? What are you trying to build? What are you trying to do to serve and give? You know? we're not here to take. We're here to give it all away, because when you leave this body, you're going to give it all back to the earth. You're here to give. Nothing, you own nothing here. You came in here with nothing, you can hold on to nothing. None of it is yours. But yes, each one of us is affecting everything. Big time. So, have a beautiful day.